What is up YouTube, and welcome back to another Raid Shadow Legends video. I did hit level 32 today, and I will be sharing with you guys some tips for you newer players out there that are starting with me for progressing. Now of course I am also a new player, so I don't know everything perfectly about the game, but I will share with you guys the tips that I picked up on and also kind of like the regrets that I have while playing the game. You guys are going to notice I did gain 32 levels in like a few days, and it's mostly because I've just been no-life in the game, because surprisingly, despite what people say about this game, it is actually pretty fun. So yeah, today we're gonna get started. What do you want to do when you are progressing your account? So the first thing I recommend during this first week is just progress through campaign as far as you can. So you're gonna notice that there are 4 difficulties. The one you want to really get to is brutal. So the reason why you want to get to higher and higher campaign stages is because you'll be able to start farming EXP for your characters very easily. Support my channel by clicking my link in the description and joining me in Raid Shadow Legends. You'll get $200 worth of free rewards, including a legendary champ harvester right off the bat. Again, this supports me in the channel tons, so don't forget to click on that link right now. You will start farming EXP on your fodder characters, and what I mean by that is your low rarity characters here, the ones that are like gray and green, and you'll use this as food to power up your main team characters. So for example here, if you guys use my code and got Harvest Jack, you will start with him at 5-star, and the way you can get him to 6-star, which is going to be the highest star grade in this game, is by going to the tavern and actually upgrading his rank. And to do this, you will need to feed in 5-star characters, and then it'll be the same for 4 stars. For 3 stars, right, you have to feed in the same star rarity. So the reason why you want to start getting campaign progressed as much as you can is because you start getting more EXP the higher you go. Not that much of a difference, you don't have to worry too much, but if you're trying to be the most efficient in terms of EXP, and also if you want to start getting more and more silver, then you want to start progressing through campaign as much as you can. On top of that, you're going to notice that you will start getting a lot of gear. So every chapter in campaign, it will drop a specific set for artifacts, right? You can see for chapter 6 here, Palace of Aravia, you're getting speed set, which is like the best set in the game overall, right? In just like any gacha game. And each chapter has a designated set, and you're going to notice if you look at the brutal difficulty, which is going to be the 3rd hardest one and the one that most people farm, you can get 3 to 5-star gear, and the 5-star gear is going to be very good for your mid to late game characters. If I go to the lower difficulty to hard, you'll see it's 2 to 4-star, and if I go to normal, you'll see that it is 1 to 3-star. Now, it's not going to be the end game area where you're farming gear and artifacts, but for the early game, this is going to be the best way to do it, because let's say I'm looking to farm like a speed set, right? Like a speed set shield. Then I can farm 6-3 here on brutal if I can clear it, or hard, it's fine. And then while I'm farming for my speed set shield, I'm also farming EXP for my food, my fodder, my characters, so I can star them up. So that is why it's really important that you're actually farming gear in campaign early on, in my opinion, because I found it to be most efficient because you're double dipping into farming EXP for your characters and also farming gear. So that is why campaign is super important to progress through. Now I will say, at the bottom here, for every single difficulty, you'll see these parts which will have like these stars, right? Don't really worry about it too much. The way you get stars in this game, it's pretty weird. It's not like you just have to kill in a certain amount of turns. You actually have to kill it, beat the stage with no losses, so no one on your team can die, which is not the hardest thing. But then the 3rd star, right, if you want it, you have to beat it with 2 or fewer champions with no losses, right? So you basically have to 2-man carry it. It's going to be a little bit difficult early on, so you don't really have to go for it right now. You can always go back and play through. But for now, just progressing the stages as far as you can is what I recommend. If you do want to try to do those star missions on the way, it's really up to you. But I found that the rewards, going up to it, it's not the most important thing for me. But if you guys want to do it, like I said, you can definitely do it. So that is campaign. Just progress as much as you can. You will hit some walls, which is going to happen to everyone. What I recommend in that situation, I know I'm going back to the menu, is, for example, if I'm progressing through brutal and I can't get through, right, it's most likely going to be a gear and also just a character level issue. So you can go to like hard and start farming, right? A good stage to farm is like 12-3 or 12-1, you just get a ton of EXP this way. So farming here is pretty good. If you can't farm at 12-3 12-3 and hard, you can go to normal and farm it, right? You can go to normal and farm, 12-3 and 12-1. Slightly less EXP per energy, but still pretty good. I will have a guide for farming in the early game later on. I am farming pretty well right now, and I did find some, not secrets, but some tips for the early game if you're struggling, because I also struggled because it's very, very, I don't want to say complicated getting into it, but it's pretty hard to understand, so I can explain it to you guys in a separate video. But essentially just farm the highest stages that you can, ideally chapter 12, right? So that's what you're gonna want to do. Now, in terms of other stuff you want to do when you're progressing, so if you ever feel like you don't know what to do, just do the missions and quests. For me personally, like, I was at a point where I didn't know what I was doing a lot of the time, and I just followed these quests, and it just comes naturally. The game kind of guides you through what to do, especially not the daily quests, but mostly like the challenges, I guess, and the missions. So like the challenges is like the best thing for me because it forces you to clear through like every single dungeon, do arena and stuff like that. So doing this type of stuff will really, really help you get through the early game. If you ever feel lost, this is what you're going to want to do because it will just guide you through the game. So this is something that you 100% want to follow through and just keep doing. You also get a ton of rewards, like such as rare skill tomes, which you'll need a ton of. So it's something that you definitely want to keep in mind while you're playing the game. So if you want to keep doing missions, keep doing the quests, keep doing the challenges as well. There's also going to be certain events going on, right? You want to make sure you're doing all of this stuff and claiming your rewards. You can see you get these points by looting artifacts, so just by farming basically. And you also get a ton of rewards here too. So just claim all the rewards as you can as a free-to-play low spender like I am, just by doing the events, the challenges, the quests, and the missions. Now all of this stuff will actually give you pretty decent equipment in the early game. So what you'll start off with actually is this lifesteal set. This 5-star lifesteal set. I think it starts at 4 stars and then you get another one at 5 star. So what you want to do is put this on your starter character. So the starter that I have is Gallic. Honestly, not the best starter in the game, probably the worst of the 4, but I picked Gallic because my first Raid Shadow Legends account, when I first actually played the game on launch, was with Gallic, and I wanted to kind of revisit for nostalgia. And he's a good character. All the starters are good, but you want to put whatever starter you have on lifesteal. And it probably might not make sense to you because I did say earlier speed is really good, and lifesteal set is pretty niche in other games, but in this game, lifesteal is very good for farming. You need this to farm. So you just slap 4 set of lifesteal, and then the other 2 pieces, the other 2 set, you can put on speed, which is what I prefer. You can go crit rate, you can go attack, but that lifesteal set you get early, just slap it onto your starter, and you want to upgrade it, right? I will say, in terms of upgrading, I don't want to get into it too much because it can get confusing. The top pieces, these have a fixed main stat, so these are better to just kind of send. The bottom ones, you have to be way more conservative because the main stat will be different depending on the piece you loot. And there's specific ones you want. For example, on boots, speed main stat is like extremely important. For gloves, crit rate main stat's pretty important. And I guess for armor, since we're here anyways, the attack percent is very important as well. So you want to keep that in mind while you're upgrading your characters. But otherwise, the gear that you get is going to be pretty safe to upgrade, and then you want to slap it on your starter. Talking about your starter though, you want to make sure that starter is going to be your main focus. You want to just send all of your materials. You want to level them to 50. You're going to want to ascend them. Ascending is basically going to be by using mats to make the stars purple. This will give them even more stats. You can see, for example, my Alice is 5 stars here, and I can make her stars purple. And you're going to see she gets new skills. She also will get, more stats. This is what you're going to want to do on all of your characters on your main team. But most importantly, you want to focus on your Gallic, your starter, whether it be whatever you choose, right? So very important to do because this is going to be your main farmer. You want to send, all of your ascension mats. I even recommend sending all of your skill upgrade tomes because you get more damage. Because like I said, you'll be using this character, the starter, to carry a lot of your fodder to level them and, just get a lot of your progression going. So definitely focus on your starter. It is extremely, extremely important. Masteries I'll talk about later on. This is going to be pretty important, but just to sum it up very quickly, if you actually go to the masteries page, you can upgrade a tree completely by spending 800 gems. This is really worth it on your starter. This will allow them to farm a lot easier, right? So if you actually spend your 800 gems, the first ones you get on the mastery for offense for your starter, you'll get a huge head start. And also, if you just level 60 your starter, you will be farming the hardest stages in the game, and then you'll be able to snowball that to start 6-starring all of your other legendaries, your good characters. So that is what I am going to recommend in terms of progression. So yeah, definitely focus on your main team only, focus on your starter primarily first off, and don't spread your resources too thin and just start building random characters, because otherwise you are going to slow down your progression a lot. So you want to make sure you're focusing on your specific characters. Something that caught my eye I forgot to mention is the mine. So this mine will unlock for 400 gems. If you want to unlock this early, it's really up to you. You can even upgrade it. I believe if you want to make your gems back for the 500 gem initial investment, you need to wait 100 days, but after that you start profiting. If you plan to play that long, it's worth it. If not, you can skip out on it if you're still testing out the game. But the mine, even though it starts flashing to unlock it, you don't want to do it right away unless you're sure for certain that you're playing longer than 30 days. Otherwise, you are losing out on gems. So you want to keep that in mind. So you want to make sure you unlock the mine. For the market, so this is something a lot of newer players don't know about. So what I like to do is when I go into the market, I like to buy the green summons. So the green summons are going to be the mystery shards, because you can use this for fusion events. So you just want to stockpile these. Just even though you're not using it, you will use it later. So in the market, whenever you see the green shards pop up, definitely a good idea to purchase. Also, if you're low on fodder or food while farming, you can just purchase the cheap ones. Not really required, but in a pinch, if you're low on fodder, which you shouldn't really be if you're managing your resources well, then, you know, it's something you can do. So that's what I recommend in terms of the market. So we just talked about summons. So I don't really recommend just randomly summoning. In fact, this is a mistake that I made that I wanted to talk about. I actually sent about like 4 of these. The reason why you don't want to send summons is because for certain events, for example, for Black Friday, you will see the rates are doubled for certain shards. So this is very, very good because this allows you to hit your epics and legendaries way more easily. So what you want to do is actually stockpile your shards for these events. I know it can be very tempting to summon, but for these events, if you're summoning, you're just getting double the value, right? Epics and legendaries are very good in this game. So you want to make sure that you're saving. Don't get tempted. Don't make the mistake I did and use about only 4 of these, but still, you know, something you want to think about because yeah, it just is way more value. And you're going to get a lot of these pop-up packs when you play. Don't worry about them unless you plan to spend. There's a lot of packs in the game you can buy. Honestly, I don't think most of them are worth it, but if you ever find that you want to spend, you can. For me, I'm going to go low spender always because some of the stuff here is overpriced. So don't get too tempted to spend if you don't want to, right? Be wise with your spendings, okay? It's a gacha game, so yeah. Last thing, I guess the second to last thing I want to recommend is clans. So I know I said I was going to make a clan, but actually, if you're thinking about the same thing, like making a clan, unless you have a friend group, just join one because you need to start farming clan coins. The ways you can farm it is by doing these quests. You want to take 3 quests a week, whichever ones that you think you can do. For me, for example, rare champions, I feel like I can do that just by farming fodder in campaign. Decrease defense debuffs in classic arena. Pretty easy for me because I have 2 defense debuffers. And then filling turn meter should be easy as well because I have turn meter fillers. So basically stuff I can do, I took. Makes sense, right? And you want to keep farming this because the coins you can use can be used for a lot of stuff. Even these void shards, right? If your clan is high enough level, which I probably will have to switch clans because I want this at 900 coins. You can even get artifacts, 6-star artifacts, just a lot of stuff. Even like chickens, which can be used as fodder and food for your characters. So you definitely want to make sure you're participating in these clan quests. And you also want to make sure you're hitting clan boss, right? Clan boss is very good because you get a ton of stuff here as well. So something you want to also keep in mind and why you definitely want to join a clan ASAP, even though it's not the best one because you just get a ton of free stuff, right? Raid Shadow Legends has a ton of guild content, clan content, so you want to make sure you're in a clan, right? The last thing I want to talk about is arena. So the thing with arena is you get a lot of these tickets, these what's it called? I don't even know what they're called, but the coins to go in, the entry tickets, the tokens. You want to make sure you're using this as much as you can. The reason why is because there's a lot of quests and missions that have to do with arena, but also by tiering up, you just get better and better rewards. You can see that as you go up, you get more, or I guess like a higher chance at shards. You also get more artifacts and stuff like that. So you definitely want to make sure you are tiering up as much as possible. You also get bonus stats. So it's pretty important that you rank up in arena. It just makes you very strong. And at the end, you can even see, you can get a sacred shard, which is like the best one, which obviously won't be, feasible for me right now, but later on, maybe we can get there, right? So definitely want to make sure you're using your tokens for arena as well, because yeah, you just get a ton of stuff. So yeah, that is pretty much it though for what I'd recommend for the early game. I know I talked about quite a bit of stuff, but there's a lot more that I didn't mention that I'll mention a little bit more down the line once I get more comfortable with the game and play more. I will say that before we end the video though, there is something I want to talk about, and that is promo codes. They're very OP. That's why they limit these promo codes once per day, so you can only redeem one a day. But there's a lot of gifts you can do, and this game is pretty much centered around promo codes, so you want to make sure that you are redeeming as many as you can. You'll just get a ton of rewards. But yeah, just play at your own pace. Nothing too stressful about this game. It is a marathon, not a sprint. I know it's like kind of like a meme that people say it, but if you play this game too hardcore, you're gonna get burnt out. And it's a good game to play on the side because the progression isn't slow, but it's very generous in terms of, you know, how much time you have to spend on the game to how much you get out. So you can play at your own pace. Pretty fun, casual game to play for me. And like I said, I'll be making more videos on Raid Shadow Legends in the future because I've been kind of no-lifing the game as like kind of a test, but it is very, very fun. Thank you for watching though, guys. Make sure you guys check out my link down below to support my channel.